But what is it now, pre-Olympics, post-Olympics, two different teams, two different personalities. You can't blame Reimer.
I don't think you blame any individual at all. I think it's a collective failure on all parts between the coaches, the management, the players. Everybody's got to take the blame. But this is something that was creeping into their game pre-Olympics. It was bad defense.
Getting outshot.
Yeah, getting outshot game after game. Bad defensive play in their own zone.
But they were winning, though. I agree.
Well, they were winning. They were getting points. They were picking up the odd point here and there, and things were going okay. And everybody has a tendency to be able to overlook that when you're winning hockey games or you're picking up points that perhaps maybe you shouldn't have picked up. Then all of a sudden it's not that big of an issue.
But a win's a win.
It gets it gets overlooked because you're winning.
Absolutely.
And then all of a sudden that transforms into lose. And I think Harry Neal, I believe it was, made the statement. I think he said it best. He said, before you go on a winning streak, he said, you probably lose a bunch of games that you probably shouldn't lose. And a lot of times before you go on a losing streak, you win a bunch of games that you shouldn't win. And then everything just turns in the wrong direction.
Hey, Frank, this shows you say it like the way it's supposed to be, right? Let's not mince words here. The problem, one of the biggest problems with the Toronto Maple Leafs is when your captain is your stupidest hockey player and doesn't even know how to friggin' well pinch the wall. You're in trouble. When your captain,
so you're not a Phaneuf fan.
I'm not. I'm appalled that he was on the power play near the end of the season when they must wins. He's not a quarterback in the power play. He's awful. And he's either got a learning disability or just doesn't want to do what he's told.
So if you were the coach and you've coached,
yes,
you were a player and you coached, you coached. So you're quantified to answer this question. What would you have done differently than Carlyle?
I have to say that I'm surprised by Randy because I know him as a coach, and he's not a bad down-low coverage guy. And I watched the Leafs and Squid and Ricky Vaive, and I've talked about many a time. I'm appalled at their down-low coverage, how poor it is. And I don't think they practice it enough in practice. I don't think they went over enough. If there's a spot down low that the player's not sure of, Frank, it's not the player's fault. It's the coach's fault.
I agree 100%. A Ferrari is only as good as the driver. Here's my thing. You have, how many coaches do you have in Toronto?
Four.
No, but I'm talking about as far as the fans. You have 30, 40,000 coaches, 50,000 coaches.
You got a lot of them some nights.
Yeah, on some nights. They all see that the Leafs defense is suspect. How come the four guys on the bench don't see it? I'm curious. I'm not trying to be facetious or patronizing to two of you guys who both played in the NHL, the greatest league in the world for hockey players. Ricky, how many seasons did you get when you scored 50 goals? Three, which is unbelievable. 150 goals, unbelievable. And at the weakest level of the Leaf franchise, right? You still managed to be huge in the goal scoring department. 2014, fast forward, Leafs are the heartbreak. They're the Valentine's spoiler of hockey. They, if you're with somebody on Valentine's Day, they're the ones that are going to break your heart.
Well,
Why?
The biggest disappointment is the fact that prior to the Olympics, they had a 7-point lead on Columbus, and I think perhaps 9 or 10-point lead on Detroit. They were looking at perhaps taking second place in the division and having home ice advantage.
Unbelievable.
And then all of a sudden you get 14 out of a possible 44 points in the next 22 games. I mean, that's a collapse. And
it's a collapse.
That's a huge implosion.
Implosion.
Wow.
Whatever you want to call it. It's not good.
You're a goalie. You played the game. You try to tell me.
I'm not going to blame Reimer.
I am.
I don't give a fuck.
If you don't have a good goalie,
I don't give a shit.
If you don't have a good goalie, it's like up a canoe with a wicker.
Reimer has his issues. He comes in. The coach disses him. The coach throws him under the bus.
That wasn't good.
Right? But before the coach threw him under the bus, I think the defense threw him under the bus. Forget about Reimer. Let's fast forward.
Okay.
Bernier comes back from one of the worst injuries any goalie could have in the world. Groin.
Yeah.
Worse, you can play with a fucking rib, you can play with your ass hurting, you play with a thing. A groin on a goalie is the most detrimental injury as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
It's like you want to eat a fine meal and your mouth is sewn shut. You ain't going to eat unless they put an intravenous up your ass. I'm just telling you. His first game back, how many shots did he get in the first period?
23.
So, come on, guys.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but two of them were terrible goals.
Your goalie's back with a torn or
I'm just
groin.
saying, two goals were horrible goals that he let in, though.
And they sink you.
Bernier was not good when he came back.
He should have
from his
come
injury.
back.
And maybe he wasn't ready to come back.
You know, Ricky, I'm a big fan of yours, and I think you know a lot about hockey. I respected you as a player. I respected you as a commentator. I think you're a great commentator. My view, my modest view, and I'm humbled by you, and I say this in honor, I believe that when Reimer lost 3 in a row, they should have given the kid that they brought up.
McIntyre?
They had nothing to lose. You roll the dice. It's like you're playing in Vegas. Phyllis Macedo argued with me. I think you were on that show. He says, you got to play the guy you're paying the money for. I think you should have rolled the dice. They rolled the dice on Potvin. They rolled the dice on the goalie for Carolina when he won the Stanley Cup over Artur Zerbe. What's his name?
You know, I think earlier, if it was earlier in the year and you had time left, I think maybe you take that risk. But when you're down to the short strokes, I think you got to go. Like, let's face it.
But Reimer lost 3 in a row.
Hold on. But forget it. Let's remember last year. Without Reimer, the Leafs do not make the playoffs.
100%.
They don't get to Game 7 against Boston without Reimer.
The most horrific game I've ever seen in my life.
No, but never mind.
Feel
Just forget that game. I don't even want to talk about that game.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying they don't even get there without
I agree.
James Reimer.
Implicitly, I agree.
Okay,
with you.
so I think given the fact that you're down to the short strokes in the season, you can't take a chance on putting in a guy who's never started a game in the National Hockey League.
But hear me out. This is my logic, and you make sense. Reimer just lost 3 in a row. You're playing Russian roulette. There's a bullet in the chamber. Now you're going back to what the Leafs do almost every year. This team's got to lose. This guy's got to kill themselves. This one has got to get 2 points.
Well, let me ask. Hold on, Ludzik. Let me ask you. I mean, if you got a guy who's played in the National Hockey League and has won some games in the National Hockey League, maybe you take that chance. But you got a guy that's never started a game in the NHL. Do you take that chance when you're down to that many games left in the season?
No.
Yeah, and I agree.
I would take the chance, but you guys know better than me because you were a coach and you guys both played. Yeah. I would take a chance. Reimer lost 3 in a row. He looked nervous. He looked uncomfortable. And I think his coach after the first game...
Well, you'd look nervous too if you were facing 36 shots a night.
And that's a great point. And I think that after the first game when Reimer came back to replace Bernier because Bernier went in and he lost that game, his coach threw him under the bus.
Yeah, and then you can't get that back. But you know what, Frank?
You cannot get it back.
You know that
that's
better
why
than
I
anybody
think
else.
He lost the next 2.
When you hand a microphone to a coach 5 minutes after the hockey game,
emotions are high.
Emotions are high, right?
Yeah.
And that's why guys like Pat Quinn had a glass of scotch before they went and addressed the media.
I don't know that, but I'm just telling you, I've learned a long time ago that your family's your family, like the old adage in The Godfather when Marlon Brando turned over to James Caan, who played Sonny, said, never tell anybody what you're thinking. Don't talk about your family. And I think the coach should be the same way. I think that in my modest view, and I could be wrong, or totally wrong, this is my opinion, that Randy Caryle, that was the beginning of the end.
Yes.
Well, I don't think there's any question about that.
No question about that.
Did he mean exactly what he said? No.
You can't take it back.
But once you say it, unfortunately, like you said.
The tongue has no bones, but it can break them.
Yeah.
And I think that
you can't take it back.
I like that. Tongue has no bones.
The tongue has no bones, but it can break them.
I like that.
But it's the truth.
Well, that's a good point.
And I think that once he threw...
Never thought of it that way.
Once he threw his goalie under the bus, his team threw him under the bus. Because I'm going to tell you...
I don't think he intentionally did that, though, Frank. I mean...
I don't know if he did it or not, but sometimes... You know
what, Frank? You don't have remote control to push rewind. Once you made that mistake...
But he had a fucking chance in this next game. You're wrong, both of you, and I love both of you. And he had a chance to redeem himself the next time.
Let's go.
No, No, but I'm
made
saying
a mistake.
Randy's
once he fucked up on the
Randy's
first time.
frustrated. I'm sure.
Are you a Randy Caryle fan?
I am positive that
Katie
Randy.
Caryle.
You know what?
How long do you think it was after he said that he said to himself, "Oh,
I fucked.
shit,
I
what did
guarantee he
say?"
said. I guarantee he said it. He said I fucked up as soon as he finished that press conference.
Yeah, but why
Yeah.
didn't he redeem himself at the second game when Reimer lost
he's
the
not.
second
Hey,
game?
he's not good at saying forgive me.
You know what? And again, hindsight's, I agree with both of you, but the second game he had a chance to redeem himself. He said, listen, I'm not going to blame my goalie. My defense is transparent. They're a piece of glass. And they're allowing
Scoring chances.
huge opportunities to a goalie, and I'm gonna stand behind my goalie. So he had a chance. He didn't do it in the second game. Didn't do it in the third game.
Well, I don't think Randy's that type of guy that he's really worried about, the optics of things and
You have to.
Yeah.
You got one goalie left.
Well, no, but I just don't think that's Randy Carlyle. Randy Carlyle's
And that's why he's gone.
a coach that's tough love.
Is he gone officially yet?
I think he's
No.
gotta be gone.
They still got a game tomorrow night.
Okay.
Yeah, but I
well,
think he's
mark
gone.
my words. I've never been wrong on this NSS. I wish I could pick fucking lottery tickets, but I've never been wrong on NSS here on www.nextsportstar.com. I'm telling you, he's done like dinner. He's finished. There's no way that man's coming back.